Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be going through my number of Yoshitoshi Abe's doujinshi that I own, art books, sketches, etc. that I own from him, just to kind of give you guys a better idea of kind of what's in each art book, you know, kind of his style, and, you know, see if there's anything you guys might be interested in checking out. I know sometimes it's hard to find, you know, videos or comparisons between these, so I thought this might be helpful in case you're all curious, particularly probably the 20th anniversary books I have in the middle here. Right, just some background here. Yoshitoshi Abe is a character illustrator who you've probably seen his works in Serial Experiments Lane in 1998, NieA Under 7 in 2000, Haibane in 2002, where he kind of helped direct the screenplay, Technolize in 2003, and he also helped some character designs in Welcome to the NHK. That was in 2006. And you can kind of see he mostly has been doing, again, more illustration work. We haven't seen any new anime production since then, but like I said, he still is working on things. There was a project called Dispura, which I think is kind of been put on hold right now, but hopefully we'll see more with that. Anyway, jumping off here is the first book I have is Sketches in 2000. This is one of his doujinshi, which can be stories, but it can also just be kind of art as well. So, and I will say, depending on what doujinshi you're looking for Yoshitoshi Abe, they can be quite cheap, especially, you know, if you find it used on a Japanese site. But they can also be very expensive too as well. I wouldn't necessarily recommend checking eBay or anything for some of these, because a lot of doujinshi aren't very long and they can be obviously pricey to import by themselves. In this case, this one again is just, as the name describes, just a bunch of random sketches in here, which is kind of neat. Again, you'll in the art books you'll see a number of colored sketches, plain sketches, full-on completed works as well. And that here is just a small book. Pretty nice cover on the front. The next one I have here is the ideasketch 2008 Winter. Another doujinshi here, small book published. And again, these sketches in this one I got for a couple bucks. They weren't too expensive on here. Like I said, if you're getting a doujinshi, I wouldn't recommend paying a whole ton for them. Like I said, they're all kind of soft back. They're pretty nice quality, I will say, so no complaints there, but again, I would recommend some of these art books coming up here if you're planning on just getting, you know, a piece or two of it. And some of these you might recognize in some of the other art books here as well. There's a number of overlap between each one, which I'll go through. Again, I do love his style here. And it's interesting you see a bit more of like robot designs as well, I think, on some of these more than others. Again, I do like his characters' designs. I do think some of his scenery work is really nice as well, but in some of these it's mostly character designs. Yep. Next, moving on, I have another doujinshi called Isolated City. This is, I want to say it's the full thing, but this is 1 and 2. I didn't open the second one, so I'll just leave that sealed for now, but I'll open the first one in case you guys are curious kind of what this one looks like. I don't always blindly get doujinshi unless they're cheap, because I can't really read Japanese, so in this case I can only really appreciate the art here. This one does have some dialogue as well in it. Got full pages here. That's the full thing here. Again, it's kind of a nice, more matte cover, which I do appreciate. It's kind of what it looks like on there. Right, moving along. Now we're gonna get more into the art books that I own. So this one is actually my favorite of them all. Two reasons here. One, because it's in a fancy case here with the art. So it comes in this little box here. I think you can see the cover over the lid, under the lid. There's also the bottom. So you can see on the bottom here. And this is inside the book. Flip it to the front. Hardcover. Nice kind of texture cover on the front as well. Now this one is my favorite because it has the most variety of all the art books I find. It has a mixture of all his series, and it is still quite affordable. I think this, I paid like $40 or $50, and then obviously whatever shipping costs depending on what that is, which honestly for the size of this art book, and if you like his work, it's honestly not a bad price at all, especially compared to if you're trying to get maybe either the Haibane Renmei art book by itself or the Serial Experiments Lane one. Those are, you'll find a lot more expensive. And this one has a mixture of his art from different series. And as you can kind of see here, you'll have colored pages and then the sketch version as well, depending on the ones here. It's interesting picking out some of the art you see on here as well. On the front covers, like I think this one was on the cover of one of the singles of Techno-Eyes. Some I don't recognize from his other, this one's NieA Under 7. Again, Haibane works. Some crossover, Hibarai, Evangelion. I think in one of these as well, there's a Hell Girl kind of crossover here. I'm gonna speed along through this one. Again, he always used kind of these softer tones here, darker tones. Again, I do love his sketch work as well. And here's an example of, you'll get the sketches sometimes. Let's see, yeah, the sketches sometimes of works as well as the colored pages, depending. Here's the cover of that sketches. So like I said, you'll see some of those as well. Apologies if I'm going a bit fast. I do have a number of books to get through. Yep, here's the Hell Girl crossover I was mentioning. Again, you have a lot of other photo kind of realistic ones as well, which is really neat to see. Again, some Serial Experiments Lane as well. And this is a timeline in the back here of some of his works, which is cool. Again, I don't think we got anything. I think the newest ones might have been the 20th. I want to say it's either 15th or 20th. I think it's 20th anniversary ones. But I think those are just compilations of some of his older ones, which I'll go through. Right, this is NieA Under 7 Scrap art book. This is actually the most, I think, affordable one that you can get from Abe work here. It was normally 1,400 yen, which is about $14, $15 US. You can probably get it for something similar to that now. I usually find this book pretty cheap on there, like usually only like 15 or 20 bucks anyway. So not too bad of a price if you're just trying to get one of his art books. I have not seen NieA Under 7 yet, but I'm pretty sure it's more of a comedy series. So I do plan around to getting it, but you'll kind of see this one's more of a comic style here. Again, a lot more vibrant colors than you usually see in his other books, which is definitely interesting. Again, number of sketches. Moving on, we have I have this upside down here. The Yoshitoshi Abe's Haibane Renmei art book, also hardcover. If you want to see the inside here, it's kind of neat. Bird shadows. And if I go to the back, here, you'll see another sketch on the back here, again, also hardcover. I will say a lot of these used ones, you'll have slight yellowing on this cover page. I know it's hard to tell on this video here, but a lot of them will be a bit dirtier because of the white cover. But again, this one's not usually good, doesn't usually go for too cheap, but I think you can find it for a somewhat decent price if you wait and look around for a bit. Reasonable being, you know, around 40 or 50 bucks, maybe a bit more depending on how patient you are. But yeah, essentially a lot of Abe's art books ones do, if you get obviously the one series that it's focusing on, you'll get a couple different unique pieces, but there is a lot of crossover, especially between sort of the more generic, not series specific ones. Here, I know Haibane Renmei was originally a doujinshi that got adapted into an anime. I sadly do not own any of those or any of those sort of illustration sketches to show you today, but those would be really cool to see. Of Abe's work, I think Haibane Renmei is my favorite one. Here, why I had to get this art book. So I would definitely recommend checking out that series, and if you're a big fan, I think this art book is worth picking up. Sadly, the DVD set is not quite as easy to find, and I think there's also a soundtrack you can get as well. But again, really nice, gorgeous art here. Again, if you guys have any specific questions on any of these that I might be able to answer, flip through, let me know. Moving along, I will do the Serial Experiments Lane art book. Now there are in fact two different Serial Experiments Lane art books, I believe. The other one is, there is a hardcover version of this one, which I think is a lot harder to find, but there's also another different sort of colored, I want to say it has like a purple cover on here. I'll try to put it on over this video right here, but there's some small differences between the two. I'll see if I can link the sort of wiki telling the difference between the two in the description, but just kind of a couple things is I think depending on which one you have, there'll be, the comic will be translated or not, and they have a couple art pieces and descriptions kind of added and or removed between the two, but large and large, they're pretty similar. Under this cover here, I'm trying to be a bit careful on this one. This one's seen a bit, so I don't want to damage it too much by flipping through. Like I said, this one will definitely be this one's kind of a thin clear plastic here. This one will definitely be the most expensive art book probably to find. If you're interested, I think in part because of how popular the anime was and or is. It's not really talked about as much here, but I feel like it's still pretty relevant and collectors are still kind of interested in this art book. I can see why. I mean, obviously great art here. It's pretty big too as well. Apologies, I'm not opening this all the way like I said. I'm trying to be a little bit careful on this book here. And again, there's a comic translated in English as well. You can find this online if you're interested in reading it, so I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's pretty cool. Again, here's the cover you'll see on the anime, some of the anime disc versions. A lot more text in English. This is the English version. I guess I should mention. Actually, no, I take that back. I believe both the Japanese version and the English version have both translations in it. I know Abe was all about kind of keeping cryptic on sort of descriptions, people to figure out their own meaning in there. And I think, yeah, you'll see English and Japanese on, I think, at least some of the wording on pieces here. Yeah, and these are, I believe, some of his reference photos that he would use. And a little bit of description about each piece. And again, kind of the clear photo on the back. Yeah, so, okay, so this is DMP version. Obviously they're defunct now, so this is the English release there, but yeah, definitely worth checking out. Last but certainly not least, I have all three of the anniversary art books. I think these are the newest sort of books that were released of his art. Here I'm gonna have to split them up, but you have Lightness, Darkness, and Sketches. I believe two of the three of these are easier to find than the third one. I want to say Darkness is harder to find now. So if you're interested in these, I would pick them up sooner than later. Hopefully this might give you a better idea of if you want any of these or all three of them. But these generally will run you about at least 30-35 a piece, plus probably whatever importing you're doing. I'll start with Sketches first, so I'll just have these behind. As you can immediately tell, this is a sketch of this front cover here. And as the name describes, you have a fold-out art piece here. And it's on the back. Double-sided. Really cool. I don't think I've seen a fold-out in any of the other art books I own. And like I said, there's something you'll notice about a lot of art books of his is you'll have a lot of crossover art between them all. So, and so you'll still get new pieces in each one. But if you want majority or a good portion of his art, if you even get one or two of these, you'll have a good number of them as well. But this one obviously is the newest, so it has a couple more different pieces in it. Again, we've seen this shot a couple times before in color. I will say, I believe on YouTube there's a couple of his live drawings. I don't know if it's under his own YouTube or not, but I know you can find sketches of him doing drawings, live drawings on YouTube. Something kind of interesting about Abe compared to some of the other artists in Japan. I believe he works a lot more digitally for pieces. A lot of other art currently I think is still being hand-drawn. Not to say he doesn't do those as well, but I think he does a lot of his initial sort of work in coloring digitally, which is really interesting to see. And obviously you can tell it's still great art here. Like I said, you'll see a couple kind of repeat art here. Obviously this is one of the color ones, Lightness. Oh. See, here's the front of the isolated city. Here. Again, so some of the art you'll see is from his doujinshi covers, in fact. Again, we've seen these before. This series we don't have anything in English of. I'll have to find out what the name was again for this one, but there's a number of there's like 9 or 10 books of this series. I don't know a whole lot about it, but yeah, there's sadly nothing in English for it. And a lot of his other doujinshi that I know of that are more fantasy based, I don't know if there's a translation of in English, sadly. But like I said, for some of these doujinshi he does, you can find them fairly easily. But they are kind of in multiple parts, or might have multiple books, so yeah. Alright, so this one was Lightness. Again, I think, my guess for the names is just maybe some of the tone of the series. That artwork that's featured in here is kind of how they kind of distinguish which one they were doing for Lightness or Darkness. They all have fold-out pages though, which is great. This one is in fact one-sided though, but again, that's the cover, or I guess the character from the cover. Yeah, so this one immediately starts out with Technolized, so yeah, you can tell they kind of chose pieces based on the coloring of the art. Again, if you guys have any insight on some of the characters featured on here, do let me know. Obviously, I can't really read some of the descriptions down here. Some of these pieces might just be promotional things as well. I know he did some covers for some other famous manga and some anime as well, for at least characters, designs, and backgrounds. And this one, you can tell this is the cover of that other art book that I showed. And these, I think this one you'll find on the CD, the soundtrack. And some sort of interview pieces here, and I think some of this studio maybe. And that's what the back is. Darkness. Not as interesting of a book cover without the slipcase in this one. And I guess I'll go back to Lightness just to show the front, but I think you know what's coming. Lightness. So yeah, that's all the art books that I own from Yoshitoshi Abe. Hopefully that was a little bit helpful in seeing what was in each one, which one you might be interested in picking up. Like I said, doujin, pretty easy to come by depending on which one you're looking for. Varies depending on how much text versus art is in there. If you were just trying to get any doujinshi and you can't read Japanese, I would probably recommend maybe finding one of these two that are a bit more art focused. Maybe this one more so than the other one. And as mentioned before, if you're gonna get any of his art books, obviously if it's a series that you absolutely love, like Seer Spearman's Lane, then obviously I would get the specific art book as well as the Haibane Renmei one. If you're going for the cheapest one, I would think the NieA Under 7 Scrapped is the cheapest one you'll be able to find. And then if you just like his art overall, I would definitely recommend this art book here in the slipcase. Like I said, it's fairly affordable. If you're importing books there, DHL usually, surprisingly, I know sometimes DHL gets a bad rap for how expensive it is, but for books, it's usually pretty good of a price, assuming it's not that big of a book. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys. If you have any sort of questions or want to see more of a certain art book, let me know. Hopefully this was helpful, and see you guys next time.